My Chemical Romance, or MCR for short, was an alternative rock band from New Jersey, USA. The band formed in 2001 and announced their dissolution in 2013. The band was initially known for their intricate song structures, hardcore sound, and image. MCR slowly began to evolve to a more pop-friendly audience with their music and brand, which allowed them to achieve mainstream commercial success. The band's most well-known members include Gerard Way as lead singer, Mikey Way, who is Gerard's younger brother, on bass guitar, Ray Toro and Frankie Iero as guitarists, and Bob Breyer as the drummer. Why is MCR important? Well, MCR was probably the most successful emo band of all time. Before analyzing the band's career and legacy, we must first define the concept of emo. Briefly, the emo genre began in the late 1980s and was inspired by punk rock music. At first, the main difference between emo and punk was the slower tempo of emo, its more elaborate song structures, and confessional lyrics about heartbreak and sadness. In contrast, typical punk lyrics made anti-capitalist political statements. Although in the 2000s, some emo bands started to become influenced by the genre of heavy metal. Like punk, the emo musical genre and its followers shared their respective fashion trends and behavioral code. Emo is therefore considered a subculture. Emo achieved considerable mainstream popularity in the early 2000s. However, due to the genre's generally somber lyrics, it has been misconstrued by both fans and critics as a genre and subculture that glorified suicide and other harmful behavior. While working as an intern for Cartoon Network in New York City, Gerard Way, the lead singer of the band, witnessed the attack on the World Trade Center on September 11, 2001. This event deeply shocked him and made him realize that he wanted to do something more meaningful with his life than work as an animator. Consequently, he formed a band with the initial drummer Matt Pellissier and Ray Toro, and then Gerard's younger brother Mikey Way. Frankie Iero was the final member to join the band. While Gerard's younger brother Mikey was working in a Barnes & Noble bookstore, he was struck by the title of a book by Irvine Welsh named Ecstasy: 3 Tales of Chemical Romance. This inspired the band's name and thus My Chemical Romance, with their unforgettable concoction of emo, theatrical performance, and goth-like appearance was born. The 5 band members quickly began working on their first album. MCR's first album, I Brought You My Bullets, You Brought Me Your Love, was released in 2002 under New York's Eyeball Records. This album mixed aggressive sound with introspective lyrical themes. The first single ever released by MCR was entitled Skylines and Turnstiles. It was based on Gerard Way's experience as a witness to the 9/11 attacks, and it is featured on this album. The album succeeded in attracting a small underground following. Other songs on the record include Vampires Will Never Hurt You, Drowning Lessons, as well as Demolition Lovers. The following year, in 2003, MCR signed with a larger record label known as Reprise Records. And the year after that, in 2004, the band released their first commercially successful album, which was called 3 Cheers for Sweet Revenge. This album eventually went platinum, which means more than 1 million copies were sold. The lead singer of the band, Gerard Way, drew the cover art himself. Popular singles on this album include I'm Not Okay, Helena, and The Ghost of You. These songs had sophisticated music videos filmed for them and enjoyed airplay on MTV. Within a year after the release of the album, Three Cheers for Sweet Revenge, the stress of touring and living the rock star lifestyle began to take its toll on Gerard Way. He suffered from depression and alcohol, cocaine, and prescription drug abuse. He admitted to having suicidal thoughts in July of 2004 while in the midst of their biggest tour yet. By the end of the tour, Gerard Way's outlook improved and he had given up drugs permanently. At this time, MCR was also participating in the famous North American music festival called Warped Tour, which achieved even more attention for the band. In mid-2004, Matt Pelletier, the drummer, left the band and was replaced by Bob Breyer. MCR continued touring with well-known bands such as Green Day, Story of the Year, and Taking Back Sunday. On October 31st, 2006, MCR released their most successful album of all time, entitled The Black Parade, which featured very popular songs including Welcome to the Black Parade, Teenagers, as well as Famous Last Words. This album cemented MCR's status as the most successful emo band of all time, and it was also the best-selling CD of the band's tenure. It is a concept album that revolves around the story of a terminal cancer patient near death, lying in a hospital bed, who has flashbacks of his undistinguished life. It is based on many concept records of the 1970s, such as those by Queen. MCR and their music have appeared on different television shows including Glee and the children's show Yo Gabba Gabba. Fox News broadcaster Glenn Beck accused MCR's song entitled Sing, that was played on the show Glee, of spreading un-American propaganda. Bassist Mikey Way responded to the accusation with this comment: "If we're getting a reaction from people like that, we're doing something right." On May 8th, 2008, British tabloid The Sun published an article called Suicide of Hannah, the Secret Emo. Hannah Bond was a young British girl who committed suicide allegedly because she listened to emo music and dressed in stereotypical emo fashion, which includes dark, tight clothing. Her suicide was controversial as many blamed MCR for her death because they were known as the preeminent emo band of the time. Gerard Way responded by disavowing the emo label. When Gerard Way was asked about being labeled as an emo by the University of Maine's newspaper, The Maine Campus, he responded by saying, "I think emo is garbage. I think there are bands that unfortunately we get lumped in with that are considered emo, and by default, that starts to make us emo." Despite his denial of MCR being an emo band, they are still widely recognized as being one of the major proponents of this genre. It appears that he dismissed the emo label in order to distance himself from the negative press. Gerard Way also maintained that MCR's music is written to help and support and lift people out of depression, and it was never intended to exacerbate emotional problems or harmful actions. MCR released many other works over the years, but only one other full-length studio album after The Black Parade, and it was entitled Danger Days, The True Lives of the Fabulous Killjoys. This latter album did not sell as well as their previous ones. It took a large step away from the emo genre towards pop music and the garage rock genre. MCR was still immensely popular from The Black Parade, and that success carried them until they announced their breakup, which was on good terms, on March 22nd, 2013. Gerard Way, Frank Iero, and Ray Toro continue making music in their solo careers.